My name is Shmuly Goldman, and I guess I'm here tonight because I was involved in running a successful consulting company for a number of years. The company grew from myself working to eventually having roughly 150 people with offices in New York, London, and India. And we were a pharmaceutical-focused consulting company, and probably, 18 of the top 20 pharmaceutical companies around the world were our clients. And in the summer of 2011, I sold my business. Since then, I've been working mostly for nonprofits and doing a lot of mentoring with CHYE and meeting with a lot of young business people and trying to help them succeed and progress their ideas and their businesses. And it's been a wonderful experience for me. And that's really why I'm here today, is because of all my discussions with various young people about their goals and aspirations, and hopefully we'll share some of those experiences and will inform your decisions moving forward. So I wanted to start with really everybody using the word entrepreneur and entrepreneurship. It's like in Chabad you have to use big words because otherwise it's not good, right? So instead of just saying somebody who starts a business, really entrepreneurs are people who start businesses and run businesses. Really simple. It means that you are responsible for the success of your venture. You're taking responsibility for, obviously people can work with you and so on, but ultimately responsibility rests with you to get your business to be successful. And so there are lots of choices that people can make in life about where they go. Entrepreneurs, I think, have a certain personality about them. Successful entrepreneurs certainly have a certain personality about them. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what is the sort of the makeup or the mindset of an entrepreneur, or what mindset of an entrepreneur ought to be. One of the things I think it's important to think about is that we spend a lot of time talking about business and all the success factors in business, but we mustn't lose sight. And I think it's very important for us as business people and as entrepreneurs to remember that Birchas Hashem hi tashir. That at the end of the day, it's the bracha of the Eibishter that makes you successful. Our job is to make a keli, and theoretically to make giant kelim, so the Eibishter really can fill them up. But at the end of the day, the Eibishter fills it up. It's our job to make a good keli. And it's important to keep that in mind because times can get rough. And bitachon goes a long way to helping you get through some of the rough patches as an entrepreneur. So I think bitachon and belief in the bracha of the Eibishter is an important personality trait to develop as an entrepreneur. I think that the other thing that's important to have is a capacity for risk. So I don't know where everybody is today in this room, whether everybody's here has already started businesses, contemplating starting businesses, are about to need to make money, already make money. I'm not sure where everybody's at. But definitely entrepreneurship and the effort and risk of running a business is not for everybody. And there are life choices that people need to make about what is important to them in their lives. I will say that we'll talk a little bit later about what are the success factors of being an entrepreneur, but there's definitely an appetite for risk, and a capacity for risk is something that you need to be able to understand, that you're taking essentially your future into your hands, right? People have jobs. The bulk of the risk associated with your job falls upon somebody else. Somebody who's running the business, somebody has to find the customer, somebody has to ship the goods, somebody has to do something. You got to do your job. It's fairly contained. You could have a big job, but at the end of the day, it's the owner of the business or the board or wherever that might be that bears the ultimate responsibility and the ultimate risk. As an employee, risk is minimized. As an entrepreneur, the risk is all on you. So you have to be prepared for that and know that there's going to be some ups and downs, and there's going to be some difficult moments. I also think that you have to be prepared to work really hard. It's not to say that if you're working for somebody, you don't work hard, but when you're working for yourself, when you're an entrepreneur, when it's your business, you really have to work hard. And I know there's some life-work balance that everybody has to find in their lives, but don't kid yourself. It's going to be a lot of hard work to start a business, to run a business. Maybe eventually, as your business grows and becomes more successful and you have more people working for you, theoretically the work gets spread around and it becomes a little easier. But certainly as a startup, it's a tremendous amount of hard work and you need to be prepared for it. You also need to be prepared to deal with failure and deal with rejection. Any business that's starting out is going to depend on customers, to find customers and get customers to buy your goods or your service or whatever it is that you're trying to get them to spend money on that'll bring money into your business. Requires them to make a commitment to you, which also means that some of them are going to say no. And you have to be prepared for that kind of rejection. You have to be prepared that you're going to get no's and you're going to get people telling you your product is no good or whatever it is they're going to tell you, the negative things that they're going to tell you about why that might make you feel like you're doing the wrong thing. So you got to be prepared for that and understand that that's going to happen. There are different opinions in life. Hopefully some of the opinions you get, some feedback you get might be useful in terms of bringing that back into your business and maybe refining your product a little bit, but don't be afraid by rejection. And if you can't handle rejection and you can't handle that kind of thing, then you probably ought not enter the world of entrepreneurship. You know, similarly, there's overcoming fears, right? There's a lot of fear associated with going into business. There are going to be many times along the way where you're going to be faced with a difficult decision. Oh man, what do I do? You know, this is going to cost a lot of money. I'm going to have to max out my credit card. How am I going to pay it back? There's a lot of fear associated with that, and you have to be able to overcome those kinds of fears if you're going to be successful. And you know, I'm not trying to paint a scary picture about entrepreneurship, about running a business, but those are sort of the personality things that you have to remember that you're going to be faced with, and you have to be prepared to be able to deal with those. And probably the most important thing is that you need to be prepared for is change and innovation. I don't think anybody who you probably cannot find, and anybody who started a business and is running a business who will tell you that the business they're running today is the one they thought they were starting or the one that they started. Most businesses evolve and most businesses change. Markets change. The world changes around us very, very quickly. And so being adaptable to change, being a person who is comfortable with the notion of change is an important attribute of being a successful entrepreneur. People who are more accustomed to, who feel more comfortable doing the same thing consistently, probably, again, not the greatest personality traits for entrepreneurship. Change, constant reinvention, that is, you know, a big part of being an entrepreneur. So, how do you get started as a businessman, you know, as a business person? It's interesting because a lot of people, we talk about entrepreneurship and we talk about coming up with a great big idea, putting together a business plan and starting a business and doing all the things you need to start up a business properly. And that's absolutely a viable way to start a business, and there are, I'm sure, quite a few businesses that have started that way. Most of the people I've met who started businesses started them very differently. They started them in some probably fairly unexpected way. And myself personally, I studied computer programming and went to work as a programmer, working for some company. I was looking for a job. I wasn't looking to be an entrepreneur. I was looking to make a living and feed my family. And, you know, one point somebody said to me, you know, you can make more money if you do it as a contractor and not as an employee. So I said, you know what, I'll become a contractor. I became a contractor. I started talking to people. Somebody said, you know what, could you do something a little more than you're doing right now? I said, yeah, I'll find a guy to help me. You know, and I got a guy for a couple of hours to help me, and then another guy, and eventually, you know, a lot of people and across many geographies. And many things happened along the way that influenced the shape of the business. But the business didn't start as this grand idea. It started as a way to make money, a way to make a living. And I think that that's a perfectly viable way for people to start a business. So if you have a certain passion for something that you're interested in, it's okay to say, I'm going to go work for somebody who does that. I'm going to learn that business really well by working in an existing organization and get those skills, understand the market, understand the business, understand how it works. And then you might have the appetite to go out on your own, but at least you'll have a good foundation. You could spend some time with Rabbi Berg here and do a great business plan, and that's another way, very viable way. Have a great idea, go get funding, start working, and so on. It's another viable way to make it happen. And so those are all viable ways in which you can really start a business. I just don't want anybody to walk away thinking that to be an entrepreneur means, going out and finding a venture capitalist to back you or an angel fund to back you and all these kinds of things you have to do, which are actually difficult, really hard to do all that, to start a business from scratch and come up with the idea and design it and plan it and get the funding and get the people. So a couple different approaches you can take as you contemplate entering the world of entrepreneurship. There are potentially some easier paths forward. So what are the success factors for people who are in business? Well, I think again, mazel and bracha are a very big part of it. They say that, I think, I'm not even sure who it was Rothschild, the Reichmans, somebody very, very wealthy was once quoted by saying that being successful in business is 10% brains and 90% mazel, and if you could trade in that 10% of brains for another 10% mazel, he would do it in an instant, right? Because, it's the right place, right time, you met a guy, there's a lot of things that happen that really, you talk to people about their success in business, and it isn't necessarily all in the plan. It's in Hashem's plan. And we have to be able to capitalize on those moments, and I think that's an important thing, is that to recognize when opportunity is in front of you and actually do something about it. But that's a big part of success, is having that mazel. And do have a plan. I think having a plan is important. I talk to a lot of people who are doing things in business and they really don't know what they're doing exactly. They're kind of just doing it. They really haven't made a plan, and I think it is important to have a plan. It's very important to have goals for yourself, whether those goals are specific to your business or specific to your financial future. I remember when I was first starting out, somebody heard a lecture or I read a book somewhere about having financial goals, and I had no idea how to set a financial goal for myself. I got my first job. I think I earned somewhere around $20,000 a year, and I thought to myself, boy, in a year from now or 2 years from now, I'm going to have to double that. I'm going to earn $40,000, and I had no idea how I was going to do that. But I thought to but the idea that I had this goal that I was thinking about, which made me think about what I was doing. Hey, how am I going to get there? If I keep doing what I'm doing right now, am I going to be able to reach that goal? I don't know. I don't think so. So I need to do something to move me along that continuum so I can reach that goal. So having a plan, having goals are really, really important aspects in terms of developing your business. Developing leadership skills. Any successful business is going to be more than yourself. I mean, there are successful consultants out there who do well for themselves. They are just fabulous experts at whatever it is that they do, and they sell themselves out for some kind of hourly rate, and they can do very, very well, but there's really no leverage there, right? If they don't work 1 hour, they don't get paid that hour. If they don't work a day, they don't work, going on vacation becomes really like, oh man, I'm going to go on vacation and I'm not going to earn money today. Should I work? Should I vacation? So when I was starting out, that's what I was doing. I was a consultant for myself and only for myself, but I didn't like the idea that there was this constant pressure that if I wasn't working one day, I didn't make any money. So I wanted people to work for me so that when I'm not working, they were working and I'm still making money. So that appealed to me. It was a nice idea. So that's called, that's leverage, and that requires leadership and requires the ability to build an organization. Probably the single most important piece of advice I can give you as you grow your business is to surround yourself by fantastic people. Hire the best people that you can ever find and be really careful about it. Don't cut corners on your hiring practices. I mean, I can't tell you that the thing that I think really gave our business the most lift was the fact that we worked really hard to just hire great people, because great people help other great people, and the organization becomes very light, it becomes buoyant, because everybody's lifting each other up, as opposed to some people who are dragging everybody down. So hire the best you can possibly afford, and probably spend a little bit more than you think you can afford, and hire better than you thought you could hire. I've talked about this once at CHYE at a previous event, but I think this is really important, especially for people who are starting in a business, is to really identify your core business. Identify what it is that you're really, really about, and relentlessly focus on that thing. Make sure that you're doing that the best it can possibly be done. And so I think that's a really, really important thing to do. It definitely worked for me. You know, we went from being broadly focused technology company to be very narrow focused, pharmaceutically, drug safety focused company, and that really gave us a tremendous amount of credibility in the marketplace. We were able to sell to the biggest companies in the world, even though we were fairly small, because we had chosen a niche for ourselves, and we became the best in that small space. Right? We could compete with the world's largest organizations right there. Right? We couldn't compete across a lot of things, but that we were great. Work really hard to have happy customers. Customers are the lifeblood of any company. So you'll hear a lot of stuff about customer service and making your customers happy. I think that's a critical aspect in whatever it is that you're doing.